is ABC-7 Extra.
Good evening, I'm Saul Saenz, and this is ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. I want to thank you for permitting us into your home this Sunday evening as you prepare for the start of your work week. We've all seen the images, commercial vehicles slowly crawling from Juarez into Mexico. But before that, many 18-wheelers were at a standstill when a group of people in Juarez protesting Texas Governor Greg Abbott's policies triggered a trucker blockade. Goods like food, parts, and other supplies coming into the U.S. were stuck on the Juarez side for hours. The blockade was eventually lifted and trucks started the long, slow bumper-to-bumper drive into El Paso. While we still don't know the name of the organization that formed the blockade of truckers stopping the flow of goods into the U.S., we do know it is in direct protest to Governor Greg Abbott's executive orders. One of those orders to try to stem illegal immigration is for DPS to stop all commercial vehicles for further inspection beyond the inspection Customs and Border Protection initiate at the ports of entry. And that brought the wheels of imports from Mexico to a screeching halt until that blockade was lifted. This was the scene in Juarez Tuesday, commercial vehicles at a standstill. Fuel was not burning. In fact, the only thing burning were calories from truck drivers unable to drive, but enough time on their hands to burn calories or cross their arms in frustration.
I do not know how long this problem will go on.
The blockade was eventually lifted Tuesday evening, but the damage was already done. What kind of dollars are we talking about here that are being lost?
Millions. For every minute that a truck is stuck at the port of entry, there's money being lost. And that exacerbates an already strained supply chain.
Rodriguez and other truckers say a group of men driving pickup trucks ordered the stoppage by parking in front of commercial vehicles in Juarez, essentially ending the flow of cargo into the U.S. Even international shipping authorities say they do not know which group called for the blockade. They only know why it's happening. The group was protesting an additional inspection of commercial vehicles called for by Governor Abbott, ordering DPS troopers to stop any commercial vehicle they deem unsafe. Governor Abbott met with the governors of Nuevo León and Chihuahua, Mexico. Once those governors agreed to step up inspections on the Mexico side, Abbott agreed to lift DPS inspections at ports entering Texas. Abbott argues commercial vehicles are being used to smuggle drugs and humans into the U.S. The Texas governor points to commercial vehicles pulled over by DPS like this one in El Paso, more than 100 undocumented migrants being transported in commercial vehicles. And a spokesman with CBP says non-intrusive technology at the ports of entry detects smuggling of any contraband inside commercial vehicles. But once that commercial vehicle comes into the U.S., it can be loaded with migrants for further transport. Meanwhile, truckers are complaining being stuck, waiting to cross sometimes as long as 12 hours with no food, no bathroom, and limited patience. However, some truckers agree with the protest because they believe multiple inspections are unfair.
There's nothing I want more than this situation to be fixed, because as I said before, it affects everyone, the business owners as well as the employees.
Joining me to talk about the chaos truckers went through and the impact on all of us when the flow of commercial vehicles came to a standstill is David Coronado. Mr. Coronado is the Managing Director for International Bridges and Economic Development for the City of El Paso. Also joining us is Royal Jones. Mr. Jones is the owner of Mesilla Valley Transportation. I'll start with you, Mr. Jones. Your company was directly impacted by the truck blockade in Juarez and Santa Teresa. What was that like, Mr. Jones?
Well, most of the freight we take out of the El Paso area, and a lot of what we bring back into the El Paso area is coming from the maquilas in Mexico, Juarez, and Chihuahua, and going up into all parts of the country. And I'm going to say about 90% of the freight that we do out of El Paso every day is actually freight that comes from Mexico. And with us doing 125 to 150 loads a day, that just stopped that many trucks from traveling. Thank God for us, we had a nice supply of loads already on our yard, but we depleted that supply, which we were actually gathering up to be ready for this weekend with Easter. With Easter coming, the bridges usually close around noon today or noon on Good Friday and don't open until Monday. And I still have trucks coming and going every day, so I have a supply of loads in my yard. So we basically depleted our supply to get ready for Easter. And as you can kind of understand what that does. So we'll be messed up on Monday when we have about a zillion trucks sitting in El Paso waiting for loads to come across.
How frustrated were you when you learned about the blockade?
Well, it's very frustrating. And I realized that it started taking so long. You already have the people on the bridges doing an excellent job of getting so many trucks and trailers across every day. And you have the Border Patrol agencies doing a fine job of making sure that things are done properly. And I mean, I know we always want to be a little more safe and keep the wrong people out and keep the wrong product from coming in. But I think they checked that pretty well already. So I don't quite know, but I understand the frustration on the Mexican side because their drivers and our drivers both sitting there all day and not making any money. Nobody's making any money. It's all just come to a halt. Now we're going to be late with all these loads all across the country. And I mean, the people are going to be understanding, but it just pretty much stopped the commerce of the El Paso area.
Yeah. Mr. Coronado, what sort of impact did the blockade have on international bridges? I mean, you're in charge, so it must have been frustrating for you too, but what sort of impact did it have?
Yeah, so thank you, Sal, for having us today. It's really good to be with you and to talk about this topic. It's critical for the El Paso and Juarez region. You know, what's happening right now at the bridges is really hurting the economy in our cities. Not only here in El Paso and Juarez, but all the way to Santa Teresa and then east of Texas and then further inside the U.S. What happened on Friday of last week all the way to Thursday evening, you know, essentially it was a halting trade to almost a virtual complete stop. We saw declines in trade of about 90%. You know, we have in El Paso about $85 billion a year of trade that moves across our borders. And so the connections between Juarez and El Paso and the industry and the way that the systems are set up here, you know, with the just-in-time processes, with production cycles for maquiladoras and plants in the U.S., these kinds of disruptions are devastating for them. You know, for us, we see congestion, we see, you know, queuing of trucks, additional pollution, right, from the emissions from the vehicles. But for them, this is what they do. And so when we have these inspections that are in addition to what already takes place from customs in Juarez, customs in the U.S., U.S. DOT, there's many other layers of security that have taken place before they get to DPS. And so when DPS becomes a bottleneck and they inspect every truck, everything upstream gets affected. And so we essentially saw declines of up to 90%, 100% obviously when the bridges were shut down by the protest. And so we're happy now that we've, you know, Mexico and the U.S. or Texas and Chihuahua have reached an agreement to get back in business.
However, the damage is done because it created a logjam. Does that mean that now everything is flowing, but it's flowing slowly? Yeah,
so like Mr. Jim was saying, you know, right now the industry is trying to catch up to the losses that they've incurred, to those backlogs and the shipments that they've seen now. You know, on any given day, we see more than $100 million of trade going through these bridges, you know, from these trucks. And it's not just, you know, machinery, it's not just, you know, equipment. Many of these companies also transport medical equipment. And so there's critical industries here that are impacted by these orders that take place at the local level that are not understood, you know, outside of our region.
Mr. Jones, in your mind's eye, did you see a need for a second check from DPS? I mean, your truckers know exactly what it is that they're hauling. Did you see a need for anything like that to happen? What sort of a nightmare did it create for you and your company?
Well, I'm not an expert on what we need as far as, I mean, Mr. Coronado knows the exact numbers, like he's telling you, of things that come across and all the things they already do. I know that they reject if we have a low tire or a flat tire or a bad brake, they already stopped that. And we have crew of people that we try to inspect them before they go across and when they come back to make sure everything's the same. And they do this at the border. So as far as the DPS, if they were looking for failures of safety type violations, that there shouldn't be any. There's always going to be something. It is equipment and it is moving and things happen. But as far as the contraband in the trailers, that's pretty well checked. Most of us are CT-PAT certified. Most of the customers and shippers won't use you if you're not CT-PAT certified, which means Mr. Coronado can tell you exactly what that does, but it's just showing that we're all part of a team to make sure that things are happening legally and safely as all the products cross the border. So it was quite a shock for it just to happen like this. I realized the displeasure of the people who were doing this work, especially the Mexican and American drivers, sitting there all day, not making any money, running out of hours on their e-logs. It was just a quick nightmare that none of us expected. It's hard enough already to get through Easter and keep everything flowing smoothly. And for this to stop, it's just like, wow, this is going to be something else.
Okay, we're going to take a really quick break. Still ahead, agreements were signed with the governors of Nuevo León and Chihuahua. We'll find out and we'll talk more about what sort of impact that'll have moving forward. You're watching ABC-7 Extra, where news comes first.
You know, one of the biggest fears that we see from so many folks is, have we done a good enough job financially as we go on through the retirement years? I think retirement should look like, every day being a Saturday. We want to have freedom to go do the things that we can do, and we're going to help you understand the tools that will help you accomplish what you want to accomplish. What I get out of that is such an incredible fulfillment of being able to help you get to where you want to be.
Thank you for taking me home. It's so far.
Don't worry about it, Grandma. This will be fun. 2 chocolate milkshakes, please.
Did you get his number?
No, Grandma. Grandma!
Excuse me?
Some relationships get better with time. That's why I got a Crosstrek.
96% of Subaru vehicles sold in the last 10 years are still on the road. Love. It's what makes Subaru, Subaru.
Maintain the love of your new Subaru with 2 years of complimentary maintenance.
There's a reason ABC-7 is the team you know
and the team you trust. We know your time is valuable.
That's why we strive to bring you context, depth, and perspective to each story that you won't find anywhere else.
So many people at ABC-7 have made it their life's work to bring you timely, accurate news and information you count on.
The team you know and trust is deeper and more committed to you than ever. That's why at ABC-7, news comes first.
An awful lot can change overnight.
I want to get straight to 2 major breaking news stories this morning. Overnight, New Mexico State Police announcing that the McBride fire has turned deadly.
ABC-7's Good Morning El Paso knows you need to get up to speed fast.
An auto shop in East El Paso has gone up in flames this morning.
The ABC-7 Alert Center is Good Morning El Paso's tool for the latest updates to keep your family safe.
You can see just the damage of the business here. The roof collapsed.
Only on ABC-7's Good Morning El Paso.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. That was the governor of Chihuahua agreeing to order Mexican immigration authorities to conduct enhanced inspections on the Juarez side before entering the U.S. Now, I also want to welcome back David Coronado. Mr. Coronado is the Managing Director for International Bridges and Economic Development for the City of El Paso. Also joining us is Royal Jones. Mr. Jones is the owner of Mesilla Valley Transportation. Now, I want to ask you, you heard what the governor of Chihuahua said. Mr. Jones, I want to start with you. If there are enhanced inspections on the Mexico side, that's pretty much what DPS is doing on the U.S. side. So will that slow things down as well?
Again, I think it will. I mean, they just won't be at the bridge yet. So now apparently you're just going to make a new line of trucks before they get to the bridge to further investigate. And at least they're having a nice reciprocal agreement that Mexican and Americans are going to believe, or Texas DPS is going to be assured that the Mexican side is doing more to make sure things are that much more proper. However, it's still going to take time. It just the stall will just be over there instead of at the bridge.
Yeah. Mr. Coronado, what do you think is going to happen if Chihuahua authorities now start inspecting vehicles on that side? What sort of impact is that going to have on international bridges?
Yeah, so it's still not clear, at least to me. So I read the MOU, I read the agreement, and line by line, right, they essentially show elements of security that the Chihuahua State Police is going to be enforcing or implementing. Again, the details are still not defined clearly yet, at least in my mind. But from what I've seen, in the documents that I read, it appears that it's going to be a lot of intelligence gathering, via cameras, drones, and other technology solutions that the state of Chihuahua is trying to implement right now as we speak.
Yeah.
And actually, the same equipment, we call it ITS, the same equipment the state of El Paso is installing and designing right now, working with the bridges stakeholders. And so we have similar equipment being installed and designed today on the U.S. side. The state of Chihuahua is doing the same improvements on the Mexican side, and that's what the governor referred to as far as security measures. So we're going to have now both systems interacting, sharing data across the border. That's going to be critical for the bridge operators, but also for the industry. They will be able to see cameras real time about conditions at the ports of entry.
Yeah, we're talking about non-intrusive inspections, correct? Now, if there are non-intrusive inspections, that is vastly different than what DPS was doing, stopping vehicles And are you in communication with the governors of Chihuahua to see that that's exactly what's happening, that they're not stopping them and we won't have another blockade or a slowdown or a logjam?
So we are working right now with the state of Chihuahua and Fideicomiso de Puentes Fronterizos. They are our counterpart on the Mexican side. They're the ones that manage and operate the bridges. So we are working with them to make sure that both systems, both ITS systems, the Mexican system and the U.S. system, are compatible. And that we're able to share data that we collect on wait times, on crossings, vehicle detection systems, camera systems. And so that system is going to be compatible and interoperable. So we'll be able to communicate with them real time about conditions at ports of entries. And that information is going to be also shared with the public, with the industry, with maquiladoras, so they can plan the trips ahead of the truck leaving the warehouse, leaving the maquiladora. So it's really about modernizing the ports of entry. You know, we are making progress towards that effort, but additional funding is needed from other sources, not just the city, not just the state of Chihuahua, but also the state of Texas and the federal government in the U.S. to improve these crossings.
Mr. Jones, what are truckers telling you about what it was like when there was a blockade and what it's like now that traffic is moving and inspections are happening over on the Mexico side? Are truckers telling you anything about what's happening right now?
They're more just relieved that we're able to get across and be moving. Like he says, there's a backlog of them now, so it's just going to get better, and everybody understands it. Like you said, it's already happened, and the fact that it's being worked on to be fixed. And I think going forward, what Mr. Coronado just said, I didn't realize this, but that more automated camera, computerized system of checking all this stuff will eventually make it more efficient and faster continuously, because as you know, more and more people are going to be moving their plants into Mexico in lieu of what happened with China and COVID and all the ships taking so long and nobody to unload them. I think you'll see that we're going to need to be more efficient, and it's much better to be more efficient than having to build more lanes to cross, because you're going to just keep seeing more and more product coming across that border.
Mr. Jones, if I can do a follow-up question, how does this exacerbate the supply chain issue? Because we still have, with that trickling in, the supply chain issue, how does this exacerbate it? And secondly, do truck owners, well, you know, like your company, do you all have a group that you can communicate directly with the governor and say, look, this is unfair, we don't want this anymore?
There is a trucking group in Texas, the Texas Motor Carrier Association. We're members. They're based in Austin, and it's global for Texas. It's all of Texas, so it's not all but Texas is very huge on the border, and almost all of us that are based in Texas do this. So we're just so glad to get rolling again, and to know what I just heard from Mr. Coronado, that it's going to be better going forward as they implement these services. It's just going to be better for all of us and our drivers and all of our people, and for the whole of the United States. To the market, the consumers will get their product faster.
Yeah, did this exacerbate the supply chain issue, though?
For the moment.
I would say absolutely. You know, this is we're gonna look back at this, you know, and in 6 months, a year from now, it'll be a blip, right, in the history of the border crossings. There's many other events that impact crossings, like Great Recessions or just, you know, violence in Juarez or crime in Mexico. But this is going to be just a small blip in the history of trade for our region. During this week, you know, the cost of doing business in Texas increased for no good reason, essentially. And so, you know, we really need to have that coordination taking place across the border to improve these systems and communicate with the industry as well.
Okay, thank you very much, gentlemen. We're going to take another quick break. We're watching ABC-7 Extra. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the allegations that Governor Abbott made and the reason why he initiated those inspections to see if those allegations are valid. We'll be right back.
That's a pretty tight spot.
Watch this.
Your Buick Park said so. That's so you.
Of course you know where we're going. That's so you.
Kinda got a sixth sense.
And a head-up display.
They're here.
You brought all these players in your Buick?
Yeah.
So you.
It is.
At the heart of every Buick SUV is you. Pay no interest on Buick SUV models.
See your El Paso, Las Cruces Buick dealers.
News doesn't stop for weekends. Big stories break Saturday and Sunday too. Dylan McKim and Las Cruces native Kate Beery provide complete coverage of breaking news. ABC-7, the area's only weekend morning newscast at 6 and 8 a.m. extra resources when events demand it, and an in-depth discussion of a major story every Sunday night at 10:35 on ABC-7 Xtra. ABC-7, where news comes first, 7 days a week.
The borderland is strongest when we support each other. That's what Borderland Local Links is all about. Connect with your favorite restaurants, check out activities your family can enjoy, preview upcoming sports and entertainment events. It's all right at your fingertips. Just go to kvia.com and click on Local Links right there at the top of the page, or scan the QR code on the screen with your phone. Borderland Local Links, supporting local business, connecting you to things that make life better.
You can be part of our news team by sharing with ABC-7. Download the ABC-7 Storm Track Weather app, tap the Share tab, and show us what Mother Nature's doing in your neighborhood. Be seen, be heard, be involved. Share with ABC-7. Get your accurate, reliable ABC-7 Storm Track weather forecast from Chief Meteorologist Dr. Dave Spielman. Weekday mornings and evenings on KELP Radio.
Welcome back to ABC-7 Extra Sunday Edition. You just heard Texas Governor Greg Abbott talk about his reasons why Governor Abbott wants DPS to search commercial vehicles. You also heard from his opponent in the race for governor, Beto O'Rourke, talking about those policies. I want to welcome back David Coronado. Mr. Coronado is the Managing Director for International Bridges and Economic Development for the City of El Paso. Also joining us is Roel Jones. Mr. Jones is the owner of Mesilla Valley Transportation. I want to start with you again, Mr. Jones. You heard the allegations that Governor Abbott made, saying that the reason that they're checking these vehicles that, of course, DPS would deem unsafe is because there's human smuggling going on of illegal immigrants or illegal migrants or undocumented workers, as well as a lot of drugs. As far as you know, Mr. Jones, none of that, is any of that happening with your trucks or with co-workers' trucks or any trucks where they're coming through the ports of entry, and then lo and behold, they find all this? Is that happening?
You know, years ago, it used to be very common, but gosh, with all the technology and all the systems they have in place and the heat sensors and all the things they do to catch this, I personally have not heard of any of our trucks caught with any contraband or humans or anything in a long, long time. So, I mean, you always want to be safe, and you want to be, we always want to do the best job we can to make sure this isn't happening. But if I sure didn't know it was happening. I mean, people are coming across the easy way right now. Why do they got to come in the truck to let them in and give them whatever they want?
Mr. Coronado?
Yeah, just to give you a little bit of context about what really is happening at the ports of entry. The DPS inspection is the last step in the process for any truck coming from Juarez into El Paso. So that's the last step before they hit the city streets and off they go to warehouse, the maquiladora, or whatever destination they're headed to. Before then, they get inspected by DOT from the U.S. government, federal government, get inspected by CBP, by Customs in Juarez, and also by a private contractor on the Mexican side that runs canines. So all these inspections, 4 of them, before they get to DPS, have already taken place. So the likelihood of any contraband, any persons inside of a trailer is close to zero. CBP, this is what they do on a day-to-day basis. They are charged with national security, with inspecting contraband for any kind of merchandise that's not supposed to be there or persons not supposed to be there. They have Xtra machines, they have canine units, they have their personnel, and this is what they do best. That's where the inspection really ought to be. The City of El Paso is working with CBP to reimburse them for overtime hours, to have additional agents on staff and reduce wait times. For the last 6-7 years, we've invested more than $12 million in overtime to reduce those wait times, to help trade move, between both cities. And so we are committed to security. We get the concerns from the public about, national security, safety, terrorism, those kinds of things. We are funding CBP, so we get it. We are our partner in this as a bridge operator. And so we understand the concerns, but DPS really is not the place where you want to draw attention and focus. If we want to provide resources, it's in technology. If we want to provide resources, it's in CBP for additional officers. We can build another bridge to add more capacity, but without the staffing, that bridge can sit idle and it won't be utilized.
Mr. Jones, let's talk about lessons learned. Is there anything you're going to be doing differently if something like this ever comes up again? And of course, preparing yourself for another eventuality such as this one. Will you be doing anything differently?
You know, I can't think of anything that we could do. We already make sure our equipment is highway legal safety DOT ready when it goes across, and check it again when it comes back also before it goes out, because as I mentioned earlier, you don't know if you got a flat, they run over a nail or something silly, or maybe somebody stole some lights or broke lights or whatever. So again, there's a lot of repetitive things happening, and going through the DPS again is just one more repetition to slow the whole thing down. And I appreciate all those things you're doing, Mr. Coronado. You have made it way better. I can't even imagine if you were stuck in the past, we'd have lines like this every day. So every time you guys have found some new way, and an automated system has made it better for all of us, and we appreciate that.
Mr. Coronado, is there anything that we can do differently in case something like this ever happens again, where a Texas governor says, you know what, we're going to have DPS check every truck and cause another log jam?
I mean, I think, you know, there's always something happening at the bridges, whether, like I said, you know, a recession, the exchange rate, migrant crisis. There's all these other factors that impact crossings. I think at this point, what's critical for us is to stay in touch with the industry, to communicate with them real time, with data, with information, with camera feeds. We have adjusted our operating hours to assist to recoup these losses that they've incurred over the last
Let's talk about the losses. How much money was lost during all this?
So we don't know yet. So to really run a true economic impact of what happened this week, that takes time. We know that trade, you know, halted almost to basically zero or less than 10% of capacity of what we usually see through the ports of entry. And so 10% of $120 million, you know, a day that moves back and forth, that's a lot of money. It's a huge impact to the industry, a huge blow. Again, the cost of doing business for this week, which is horrendous. You know, luckily they had the option to go to Santa Teresa for at least 1 or 2 days to alleviate that pressure. But I mean, that is done. And so now we just look ahead, and then we work with the stakeholders, work with the industry and the agencies, not only in El Paso and Juarez, but also outside our region, because it's critical that we make sure that we have collaboration taking place real time as these events unfold, and we just have to adjust our operations.
Okay, Mr. Coronado, Mr. Jones, thank you so much for sharing your Sunday evening with us.
Thank you. Good to be with you.
All right. Thank you.
All right. Nice talking to you, Mr. Coronado.
And I want to thank you for joining us and making us part of your Sunday evening. I'm Saul Saenz, and this has been ABC 7 Extra Sunday Edition. Good night y buenas noches.